Great to be together again. We're in a special place this week, aren't we?
This is great, isn't it? Last week was fun. I enjoyed our swim last week at Dalkeith. That was good fun, wasn't it?
Our swim? What are you talking about, our swim? You didn't even go in the water.
We're a team, Andy. We do these things together. It was fun.
Yeah,
This
okay.
is it. I'm feeling more at home here, I have to say.
It's a
This is
lovely
great.
place we're in, isn't it, this
It's
week?
a really special place. This is friends of mine, it's Paul, and it's a really special place to be. I'm really glad to be here today. It's great. I'm loving it. Really loving it.
In today's Bible story, we are in a special place by a special pool, the Pool of Bethesda, which people thought was special, didn't they?
Yeah, they thought something happened, or there was something amazing about the water. So it's a story about a person who came to this special place. He'd been there ages, but he was expecting and hoping for something to happen. We're going to watch the video in a bit, but should we play a game?
It's a fair game. We like a game.
Okay, so the game, Andy, let's say, when will you see the water moving? You got to run in. Oh, you had to get in first.
I was too slow. What?
You were too slow.
He was
Hey,
right
Charlie.
ready.
Good jump. Oh, you were too slow, Andy. Let's play it again.
Can we play again? Can we play again?
Yeah. Do you want to win?
I really want to win. I like winning games.
Okay, so this time, you ready? This time, when you see the water moving,
Moving. Okay.
one of us is, well, whoever gets in first wins. Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. Is it?
Okay. Is it moving?
I can't
Is
see.
it moving? It's beginning to move. It's like,
Oh,
oh,
It wasn't-
Andy.
he's so quick.
Oh, we both missed out.
That's twice I've tried.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna get on my mat this time. I think.
Okay.
See if I can see the water moving. I think that was the last stirring. Because in the story it kind of stirred, didn't it? The water stirred and people tried to touch it.
As soon as it stirred, then the first person who got it. Well done, Charlie.
Well done, Charlie.
3-0. Andy, I think you better call it a day.
I think I better call it a day. It's frustrating not being able to do it 3 times. But in today's story, there's a man who'd been waiting for 38 years. He needed to be healed. 38 years.
What, waiting at the pool? To get
Waiting
in?
at the pool, hoping to touch it. Because if he touched it, there was this idea that people could get healed if they were the first one to touch the water.
38.
God's story, the Pool of Bethesda. So part of God's story is about a trip Jesus took to a part of Jerusalem called Bethesda. And it begins like this. Jesus was returning to Jerusalem to celebrate a big Jewish holiday. Now, Jesus had done some really incredible things since the last time he was there. He turned water into wine, threw dishonest merchants out of God's temple, healed a young boy about to die, and taught lots of people about God. While Jesus was in Jerusalem, the next part of his mission was to visit the Pool of Bethesda. But this isn't the kind of pool you might be thinking of. There was no sunscreen, no swimsuits, and no big diving board for cannonballs. This was a place of sickness and pain. Blind, crippled, and paralyzed people came to the pool, waiting and hoping to be healed. See, there was a popular story that an angel with healing powers would come down and stir the water, and the first person to touch the water would be cured of whatever was hurting them. Some of the people had waited there for years, maybe even decades, hoping that one day they would be healed. Unfortunately, this story about the angel wasn't true. The pool didn't have special powers, and it wasn't going to heal anyone. But Jesus' power is real, and it can heal people. Jesus saw a man who had been sick for 38 years. He asked the man, "Would you like to get well?" That probably seemed a little weird since everyone around the pool was there to be healed. But the man answered anyway. "I can't, sir," the man replied. He had waited by the pool hoping to get healed, but because he couldn't walk, someone always made it to the pool before him. So he thought he could never be healed. But remember, the pool didn't have any power, so it wouldn't have healed him anyway. What the man didn't know was that he wouldn't have to wait for healing any longer. Jesus simply said, "Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk." And then the man did. Instantly, he was healed. Then Jesus left, disappearing into the crowd. Kids, have you ever waited for something for a really long time? Later, Jesus found the man in the temple and told him, "Now you are well, so stop sinning, or something even worse may happen to you." Jesus didn't just want to heal the man's body. He wanted to heal his heart because he loved him. And the coolest part? Even though we mess up and disobey God, Jesus loves us and wants to heal our hearts too. And that's the story of Jesus at the Pool of Bethesda. So in case you missed it, here's the quick version. Jesus went to Jerusalem. Jesus went to the Pool of Bethesda. Sick people gathered around the pool to be healed. A man had been waiting 38 years. Jesus healed him. Jesus told the man to stop sinning because he loved him. Jesus loves us too. And that's a part of God's story.
Great clip, Andy. What an interesting story.
Amazing story. It was this special place that they thought was the pool was a special place. They hoped something magical, some healing would happen. But in the end, it wasn't about the place, was it?
No, it wasn't. That man discovered, although he'd been waiting there for so long. Well, let's just go back and read it from the Bible, shall we? Let's just think about some bits. Let's hear the first clip from John chapter 5. Let's hear it read, verses 5 and 6.
There was a man lying there who had been sick for 38 years. Jesus saw the man and knew that he had been sick for a very long time. So Jesus asked him, "Do you want to be well?"
So Jesus sees this man and he asks him, "Do you want to be well?" And this man clearly does. And so he calls out to Jesus for help. And he discovers that the person of Jesus is what he needs more than the place. And we can know God's help, can't we? With the things that we need help, we can call out to Jesus and know his help as well. Should we hear the next bit?
Yeah, the next bit is verses 9, actually 8 and 9. Let's ask someone else if they can help us by reading John chapter 5, verses 8 and 9.
Then Jesus said, "Stand up, pick up your mat and walk." And immediately the man was well. He picked up his mat and began to walk.
That must have been the most amazing thing. For that man, he'd been on his mat for 38 years. I can't even quite believe it. I can't even comprehend it. But he'd been on this mat waiting. And then the second he met with Jesus, Jesus said, "Pick up your mat and walk."
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Absolutely amazing. He was transformed. He was changed.
Changed because of one encounter with Jesus. He'd been waiting all that time, but the thing he needed, like us, the one thing we really need is to meet with Jesus.
So the man was healed after 38 years.
Amazing.
And he sees Jesus later in the temple. And Jesus sees that he's well, but he also urges him to stop sinning and to live God's way. This man's life was transformed.
Everybody must have seen that. All those people who gathered by the pool, everybody must have been just so celebrating with him. Can you imagine? Everyone must have been over the moon for the transformation in that man's life.
It must have been evident and amazing for all to see, but I don't know if you remember when we looked at Nick's story a few weeks ago. He was worried about what the other Pharisees would think. And the Pharisees appear again in this story, and they're critical of Jesus and what's going on. They find fault. They're not pleased with what's happened, and they start moaning and complaining again.
Wow, let's read that bit then. I think that comes in, it's quite a long bit, but let's read verse 9, the end of verse 9 and verse 10 tells us about the Pharisees and their laws.
The day all this happened was a Sabbath day. So the Jews said to the man who had been healed, "Today is the Sabbath. It is against our law for you to carry your mat on the Sabbath day."
So those Pharisees, again, they were more worried about keeping those laws and those rules. They were really strict rules, weren't they? Really, really strict. But what we learn from that is Jesus is more about the people. He's all about caring for and transforming lives and not keeping just the rules for the rule's sake, because that doesn't bring us freedom, does it?
And in today's story, we've been reminded of that, haven't we? In today's encounter with this man at the pool, he experienced Jesus. He encountered Jesus, which was more important than the place. It might have even broken rules, but it was what he needed. And we can know that God is interested in meeting with each and every one of us. Maybe not in the normal places where we meet together, but he wants us to know him. And we want to encourage you that you can encounter Jesus in your home. You can know his healing, you can know his forgiveness, you can know his love and his peace. What a brilliant story. It's been great to think about the story by the pool as well.
Yeah.
Why don't we pray to finish?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another story that reminds us that you encounter us, that you meet with us wherever we are. We don't have to keep to certain rules or be in special places to meet with you. And so we would ask for that this week. Lord, would you meet with us wherever we are, whatever we're doing, so that we become more like you. Amen.
Amen. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great week.
Bye.